Good morning. Hope you're all doing well. The title for today's video in my coaching awareness series is The Ladder of Inference. Let me repeat that, The Ladder of Inference. My name is Maud Joaquin. I am a certified non-executive director, Scrum Master, change manager, and over a decade I've been helping leaders and teams create lasting change. Now, what is this ladder of inference I keep talking about? The ladder of inference was developed by a gentleman called Chris Argyris. It's basically a tool that is used to get to the bottom of why, as human beings, we have certain beliefs. Now, the ladder of inference is this. It's a tool, and I use an acronym to remember it. The acronym is OSMACBA. OSMACBA. The O stands for objective data or observable data, right? The S stands for selected data, which comes from the observable data. The M stands for meaning, the meaning that we derive from the selected data. The A is one of the big ones, and I believe it's one of the key parts of the ladder of inference, which stands for assumptions. The assumptions we make from the meaning that we got from the selected data. Okay? The C stands for conclusions from the assumptions. The B stands for belief. And then the final A stands for actions. Now, let's go deep into this. A lot of human beings, sometimes myself included, if I'm honest, sometimes we don't question or challenge why we believe certain things. We don't do that. We believe something. It could be anything. Let me give you an example. Say we are on an organization or a meeting or a coffee meeting or morning coffee. Let's say there's 3 or 4 people there. And out of all these people, one individual is talking a lot less. He's silent, he's not so approachable or not so talkative. Someone might see that and they might conclude this. Now, what is the observable data? The individual is not talking. That's the observable or objective data, what we can see. And then what we do is from that observable data, we say, this person's very quiet. That's the selected data, right? So we can observe, he's very quiet. We then say, he's quiet. And from that quietness, we derive a meaning. This person is shy. If it's in a meeting, person's not prepared, unqualified, not ready. The meaning. Then comes the A, assumptions. So we assume. See, we got the meaning. The meaning is in the mind. Then we assume. Oh, this person wasn't ready. They're unqualified. They're shy. That's the assumption. Shouldn't be here. And then from the assumption, we derive a conclusion. If it's in a job setting, in a meeting, we conclude this person shouldn't be here. Incompetent. That goes into our belief, and then the action. If it's in a firm, person gets fired, no longer gets invited to key meetings. If it's in a social setting, the said person is no longer invited to that coffee meeting, or those people choose not to mingle anymore. But then we find out later on that this person might not speak English very well. Maybe the person just wanted others to have a say. Now, do you see now how this can lead into sometimes us having certain actions and decisions that might not be the best course of action? Because we are deriving a belief from an assumption that came from selected data. So in leadership, what we do is we should go up and down that ladder of inference. We should move up and down. Because we always have to ask ourselves, what assumption am I making when I am looking at this person in this way? Is there something I'm missing? Now, I'm not saying this is easy, but what I am saying is we have to develop a way. If you're somebody, for example, remember guys, I'm a coach. So if you're somebody that's trying to grow, if you're someone that's trying to understand where you are in life, maybe you can use the ladder of inference as a tool to just kind of check where you're at. Maybe you may think that you're not capable of something. Maybe you may believe that you're not able to finish a task, or you're not able to finish something important. Using the ladder of inference, you can say to yourself, okay, what assumptions am I making about myself? Where am I getting this belief from? For example, I remember when I was doing a project, a certain individual in this project, they were my team, this certain individual believed that they probably shouldn't do difficult tasks because the difficult tasks, they don't perform well under pressure. I said, okay, no problem. Now, this person said this in a meeting of we were 11 people in that meeting. So to create a safe space for my team member, I had to pull them away and say, look, can we have a conversation separately from this? Just a coffee chat. We had that coffee chat, and I spoke to him after breaking the ice. I spoke to him and said, look, there is something you mentioned that got me thinking. You said that you believe you don't perform well under pressure. Here is the question. How did you reach that conclusion? Why do you think that? Sometimes in life, guys, especially when we're trying to grow and move somewhere, the first thing we need to do is we need to be, one, aware of where we are, and then two, we need to be able to ask ourselves questions, hard questions, probing questions. Hold on a minute. Why do I believe this? Why do I think this? Is this even true? Is it really true that I don't perform well under pressure? So we were talking, and see guys, using the ladder of inference tool, he said to me, well, Mauro, I say that because every time, think about this, every time there has been pressure to finish something quickly, I felt a little anxious because the time schedule, the time frame given to me was so short, I wasn't able to complete the work. Now see, look at what he said. The time frame given to me was so short, I was not able to complete the work. That one is key. See, that has nothing to do with him. It has to do with the time frame given to him. In the agile world, there is something that we call context switching. Very quickly, context switching simply explains that as you have work to do, if you have too much going on at the same time, it's very difficult mentally for you to provide a quality piece of work, for example, for 4 pieces of work as opposed to 2 or 1. That's context switching. That's in the world of agile. So I said to him, okay, in that case, is it then true that you're not able to perform well under pressure? Or is it true that in the given time frame that they gave you, you had too much to do? And guys, that was exactly the problem. In the given time frame that he had, he wasn't able to complete the work well because of what I've said, the context switching. So you see, the ladder of inference was used for us to diagnose a belief that he had about himself that just wasn't true. And that belief came from an assumption. He assumed that he wasn't good enough under pressure because in the past, he was doing work under pressure, he didn't complete it. But when we pulled back the layers, we realized that the reason wasn't because he's incapable, it was because of timing and the amount of work he had to do. So guys, that's just an example of a certain belief that we may have about ourselves being challenged so we can see exactly why. Where is this coming from? Is it true, or is it an assumption I'm making based on a belief from meaning that I gave or derived from selected data that I picked up from actual objective or observable data? So guys, that is a ladder of inference. Look, I'll leave you with that. All I'll say is this, in closing, is this. We're all leaders in life. And as leaders, one of the things that we have to do is we have to develop the ability to ask ourselves probing questions. Just to discover, hold on, why do I believe this about myself? Why is it that I feel this way or think this way? Because it simply might not be true. That belief may come from an assumption that we derived from a meaning that we gave to a situation that we misunderstood or didn't look at all the facts. I'll leave that one with you guys. Stay blessed by the best. And as I always say, I'll see you at the top.